All right, JJ, we did it. This is it. This is episode 1.
Yep, we're finally here.
I'm Andy, and this is...
I am JJ.
And welcome to We Were Gamers, the podcast. We did it. This is it. We're going.
Yeah, it's real life now.
It's real life.
Even though, I guess it was real life before, but it's still also real life.
Oh my gosh. So, We Were Gamers. It's a podcast about us having been gamers, but JJ and I having known each other for a long time, since high school, which is going on, what did we do the math? 17 years? I don't know how long. It was no, it's like 12 years. Right?
Oh, I liked the idea that we could round it to 20, but yeah, I think you're probably closer to right by saying.
No, we did the math when we last time we saw each other, and we could legally drive. Our relationship could drive.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, our relationship is old enough to legally drive.
Yeah. And if that's still the rules, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. The rules changed so much. Who knows? Back in our day, when I used to be a kid, they definitely let us drive at that age.
Oh, I guess when we say we used to be gamers, we used to be hardcore gamers. We grew up. I have a kid, a wife, a house, a dog. JJ, you got a house, a fancy
I have a
job,
house.
And you travel the globe.
I do, yeah. I try to. I want to.
We don't sit around playing Warlord card games or spending 45 hours a week playing Diablo 2. Instead, we talk about how painful our mortgage is.
Yeah. But, every now and then, you want to try and sneak something in.
Yeah.
When you can, when there's time.
Well, yeah. And we talk about games still. We should do a lot of talking about games. We don't really...
We definitely do a lot of talking about it.
Hey, did you see that trailer?
Man, wouldn't it be cool?
And we've also moved apart, right? So you live in San Diego, we live in Orange, so it's a lot easier to stay in touch on Skype or through Steam or whatever while we're hanging out at night. In 3 or 4 hours we get alone to ourselves.
Or usually less. At night. Yeah.
And I think what we both decided this podcast would be a good way to remember to enjoy a hobby we both used to do all the time and now want to find a way to do all the time.
Yeah. It would just be nice, it's we were already going to have these discussions.
Sure.
So, or, it's on kind of an ad hoc basis, but I mean, it's not that much more to just, turn on the microphones and talk a little bit and, let the people know about stuff what we used to do and what we still want to do and what we wish we could do.
Yeah. But I think it's important to let people know now. We're not informational. This is not a review show. And our opinions do not matter at all. They're just our opinions.
Totally.
It's just the stuff we want to talk about.
Yeah. And not that anyone would listen to our opinions, because, who are we? But, also, it's an opinion, right? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't take anything seriously.
But it's a good way, I think this will be really good for both of us to remember to force ourselves to play games and then talk about them. And maybe people will get a little bit of satisfaction knowing that we tried a game and we have no time and we said it was worth playing or not worth playing.
Yeah.
And so maybe somebody else with no time who has a kid or a house or a tough job.
I wish that this conversation between you and I was something that someone else was doing so that I could know what to spend my time on.
Sure.
Because, it's hard. You have, maybe 2-3 hours a night if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, I really would love to play this awesome role-playing game that came out, but...
Yeah, if you don't, watch TV, or you don't hang out with a girlfriend or wife or kid, or you don't have chores to do, or you don't stay late at a job, maybe you've got 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that's our spiel. Welcome to episode 1.
Yeah. Good. It's good to finally be here,
as
opposed to non-episode land where we used to be.
Well, I like that we really tied it all back into our old natures, and the night before the podcast recording picked our logo. We really just procrastinated as long as possible.
That's really just us. The last minute be like, I don't know, this is good enough, let's go with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's classic.
Classic. Perfect. But I do have a surprise for you, and I know you've been holding off because you saw it pop up in the Dropbox. I did not procrastinate on something else that I've been hiding from you. I think you should open up that file of the file extension that you don't understand.
Let's see. I have to open this up. Okay.
For the podcast people, we'll play this file so they can hear it too.
Okay.
Right now.
That is pretty cool.
Welcome to our intro music, courtesy of Marley Rosner.
Oh, awesome.
And I really, really hope I said his name right. Marley is Alex Lieberman's cousin.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, yeah.
Alex and Jason run the podcast, Geek Say What? And I asked them for advice on music because they had cool intro music. And she's like, hey, my cousin does that sort of thing. And Marley was like, God, I already have to start watching it. I've already said what like 16 times.
You know, that is definitely a thing.
Yeah. But anyway, not to detract from Marley giving us some awesome intro music that he said, hey, I've had this in the can. You should try this out. And he sent me a bunch of different samples, which we can use for all sorts of different stuff. But there's our little intro.
Okay. That's like a sick beat, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He wasn't joking around.
Great job, Marley. Like, high five to you, dude.
Which is pretty great. But, okay, well, that's it, though. That's all I've had time to accomplish in the last 2 weeks, because as you know, we've been insanely busy.
Right. Yep. We're like, man, this would be a great week to start when we started this idea weeks ago. And then, oh, God, as the week approaches, this is a horrible idea.
Well, I think our initial guesstimate was we were going to start, how long ago? A month ago? And then you were gone.
Yeah, I was out of town for like 2 weeks.
And
then you
were
thing.
globetrotting, though. You were having fun.
Yeah. It was vacation.
Yeah. And then
But I'm not going to record from like a crappy hotel room that maybe has internet. Maybe?
Yeah. I agree. I'm good with that. And then, I was working and gone and, trotting around Vegas and other places filming, so.
Yeah. Doing work.
Oh, gosh. It was fun, though, I have to say. It was a rewarding job, but
yeah,
wow.
Dude, drag racing is sweet.
Yeah. But, man, it's been busy, so. What have you been doing game-wise? I mean, I assume we've both been playing a ton of Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Because we haven't talked. We haven't talked in like 4 weeks.
It has been a while, yeah. There's pretty much like 2 things I've been playing, more or less. But like, let's get into the Hearthstone, man, because like, stuff is so crazy post
Old Gods.
Old Gods, yeah. I was gonna say OGs, but that's not technically right.
It's not. It doesn't work, right? Because it's the third expansion.
I know.
You can't
It doesn't
OG.
sound. It doesn't sound good.
Although,
even though I want it to be that so bad.
But man, let me backtrack for a second. When was the last time you can recall? I know we live far apart, but when was the last time you can recall that we didn't talk for like 4 weeks? I texted you, but Jesus.
Yeah, man. It has been a while. It has been a while.
Sorry for all of you guys. The bromance is real, but
Anyway, it's tough.
It's hard out there.
Miss my boy.
Old Gods.
Yeah, man, Old Gods. So, I think finally people are starting to figure it out a little bit. They're dialing it in. The decks are getting coalesced or whatever.
Sure.
And like, I finally found a couple decks that I'm having fun with, which is, I feel, unusual. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of this, like, this Murloc Paladin. I know I was telling you a little bit about it before.
I think we're bad hosts. For those of you that don't know.
Yeah, Hearthstone, man.
For those of you
it's
that
like
don't
a game.
know, yeah. Obviously, it's a game because I said the word playing. But
yes.
It's a digital card game in the vein of, but not similar to, Magic the Gathering.
I don't know. It's pretty similar. There's like a lot of similarities.
Okay. If you've played Magic the Gathering, you'll be fine.
Right, yeah, you could jump right in with Magic. Just like, I played that already, just jump into this one, you'll be fine. You'll pick it up in 5 minutes, good to go. If you've never played a card game before, It's like, you draw a hand of cards from a deck, and you play the cards out and do stuff to your opponent to try and win.
And it's based on the game World of Warcraft, so everything is themed from World of Warcraft.
Right, yeah.
Man.
So, you have heroes, you have classes, so you got the mages and the paladins and your rogues and your warriors and all that kind of stuff.
You'd think we would have tried to practice being hosts for half a second before we did
No,
this.
dude, that is just too much preparation for this podcast. I can already tell you right now. Give up that dream. It's dead.
Well, we screwed it up on the first one, so we might as well keep going.
Yeah. But, yeah, man, I don't know. But, so Wrath of the Old, or is it Wrath of the Old Gods? Whispers of the Old Gods. Sorry, yeah. Whispers of the Old Gods was the most recent update to Hearthstone that came out not that long ago. A couple, 2-3 weeks. I don't know, something like that.
2 weeks.
Does that sound about right?
2 weeks, because I had just started working, and that happens every single time Hearthstone releases a paid expansion. I was in the middle of a 4-week shoot when the Grand Tournament expansion launched.
The previous
one. And so it's just like every time new cards hit the game, I don't get to play. Which is fine, it's fine. But
it's funny you say that because you're not the only person I know who had that exact same problem. Another friend of mine's that planned this big, huge trip to Thailand. He's like, oh, I'm going to go. It's going to be so awesome. Me and my girlfriend, it's going to have so much fun. And then he finds out not, like a day before he leaves is the day that the expansion comes out. He was so sad.
Sure.
It's like, oh man, can't join it's about the zeitgeist sometimes,
Yeah, I would still take Thailand. I love this game, but
yeah, totally. Not saying he did the wrong thing,
right?
But so yeah, and now that's been out for a couple of weeks, people have had time to experiment. They sort of dialed in the decks a little bit, kind of figured out what's good and what's not good. Stuff is finally coming down to it. Like I was saying before, I finally have created a deck a little bit on my own. That's a Murloc flavored Paladin. I know Andrew has some healthy skepticism of it, but it's really, really fun, man. It's just you just hear people going like Murloc, and then you hit your opponent in the face for 20 damage. It's pretty fun.
Even without some of your old cards, huh? You can still swing for 20.
Yeah, you just need to be lucky to get all the way up to 20. But yeah, I mean, you're just using guys that generate a bunch of little guys. They're a bunch of little fish dudes, and they rush your opponent in the face. It plays a lot like the Warlock Zoo deck, except with Paladins and Divine Shields.
Gotcha. I did have a chance, once that job ended, to throw myself at Old Gods as well.
Yeah, have you been trying anything cool?
Yeah, I've been playing a couple of different decks, Beast Druids, etc. Some new Zoo Paladin, some... I think I might try some Dragon Priest. I tried some Control Warrior, which seems good, but I am terrible at.
Totally, man. Man, you want to talk about stuff I'm bad at? Control Warrior is the thing.
These are all deck types within the game, obviously, that we're talking about, but... Man, I predicted before I saw the gameplay, when I saw these cards, that games were going to shift a lot, and I think they have, into very slow games. I guess you might not have had that experience since you're playing a Murloc Paladin, but a lot of games, if you don't play aggressive decks that lose or win very quickly, they go a long time. That's not to detract, though, from the game, and I think I am having more fun than before. I assume once things shakes out, this game will settle down back into its old rhythms and all that. But I think when this hit, took the opportunity to step back from my usual take on that game, which is beating my face into a wall, hoping that I can accomplish what 1% of people accomplish, in terms of my ranking within the game. And step back and evaluate and try to have more fun. And I think those cards, despite the fact that I don't think they're overall going to make for as fun of games, do make for a lot more fun deck building.
I think that's actually probably a big part of why I'm having so much fun with this Murloc deck, which I think I'm ready to admit is not necessarily good. Like maybe the deck is kind of bad, but like it's fun to play. And so then that gives me, even though I'm losing half the time, I am enjoying the game more than I was with, the decks I was playing before, where it was the enjoyment came out of the actual winning, not as much from the playing. And then you think, oh, well, maybe I need to move out this one card to help with this matchup, and you play a couple more games. And that kind of cycle is a lot more engaging to me than it has been recently in the past, at least in that game.
Right on. Any takeaways from that in terms of stuff you are looking forward to in the next little bit of gameplay? I know that we're both kind of hoping to start playing more of other games, but I know that both of us at least
definitely
will accomplish, 30 minutes a day still on Hearthstone to make sure we get our quests done.
Got to get that money. Got to grind that gold.
Yeah, well, so Hearthstone is free to play, right? So
right,
you have to make sure that you maintain your gold income.
That's
it's quite a forgiving free-to-play game in terms of, you know what though, I can't say that I know what the new model of free-to-play is, but when phones came out and people started making Angry Birds and it was like, hey, this game's free except that everything you want to do costs $5. What is the current state of free-to-play games? Because I don't play free-to-play games much at all, basically, anymore.
Yeah, I think, in general, I think Hearthstone is pretty atypical in the free-to-play sort of market, if you will. I don't know if it's considered a market and in the mobile games space or whatever you call it. I think that the game is, if you play just the free elements, don't pay any money, and you're willing to play every day, do your quests, earn your gold, the free gold that you get from playing, you can definitely make that game into a totally workable, playable, fun game after a period of time. I think right off the bat, there's a big hurdle of like, well, okay, all these people have cards and I lose because they have better cards than me, and that's just not fair. I think it seems that way to new players, although it may not actually be in truth that having the cards is why you're losing.
Oh,
right?
I definitely agree with that statement that now I could do more with less than I could have done before.
Totally.
When I started the game, it was very clear to me, like, wow, those legendary cards are broken and I'm going to lose every game somebody plays one. But I think now, if I was playing in the vein of a new player being matched against new players, because luckily they do that.
Yes, thank goodness. That's a big, big help for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you or I assume, would do much better than the person who hasn't played before. So
yeah,
it's more forgiving in that way, because you don't know the game. So you're not going to win a lot of the game anyway.
Yeah, and with this most recent expansion, they introduced they're calling it the standard format, which is a really irrelevant piece of data for people that are just starting the game. But it's, they had this long couple-year history of cards that they had built up that were, some of which were maybe a little more powerful than people would like, and so that kind of overshadowed some of the new stuff they were creating. And this standard format sort of phased out some of the oldest cards in the game, and allowed them to sort of rebalance the original set of cards that came with the game to sort of create a new format where, hey, you're only going to be playing with some of these newer sets that are designed in a different way than some of these older cards were, that in theory, and yeah, I think so far they're doing a pretty good job with making the field a little bit more level, allowing more different types of decks to succeed.
It also lets people jump on to the game now.
Yeah, it's totally a great time to get on board.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about, well, I don't have any of the cards from the last 2 years. Well, it doesn't matter, because the only cards that are really relevant are the cards that stick around all the time, or the cards that are new, because those are the ones that are going to be the relevant the longest. I don't know, it's kind of like rebooting a series, right? You can just...
that's actually a really great analogy. It's like, oh, hey, this is the Hearthstone Reboot 2.0 edition or something. So if people were interested in getting into that game, I think this is a great time to jump in.
Yeah, don't watch Dragon Ball. Watch Dragon Ball Kai.
Exactly, man. I don't have... Who has time to watch that original show? There's like 700 episodes where they're both charging their lasers, they're the chi cannons. They're just like standing there yelling at each other, and Vegeta is mad and Goku is mad, and they're just yelling and yelling and yelling. And then probably after 15 episodes, there's one episode where they shoot the beams at each other, and then one or both of them die, and they get wished back to life, and the game starts over.
I miss Toonami. I wish I still had time to watch Toonami.
Yeah, I think like watching like anime that I wish I could have time to watch is the thing that has fallen off most in the terms of like Adulthood. It was the thing that was the quickest to cut out because I didn't have time for it already, and then now I even have less time, so that thing is immediately on the chopping block.
Yeah, series for sure. I still keep up with although it's over with now. Miyazaki movies was kind of my keeping my toe into all the anime that you and I both used to watch a ton of.
Yeah, definitely.
I was like, oh, new Miyazaki movie, definitely, I'm in. But now that he's done, it's kind of like, what do I don't, have time to get into a series of, how long Naruto is? Everything's that long.
I don't know.
It's physically
and
impossible. And I'm
never going to
know.
learn because it's impossible.
It's like an infinite library. You'll never know. You'll never know.
Yeah, man.
Okay, well,
it really is.
You said there was another game you were playing. What's
That's
the other
right.
game?
There is one more game. And Andrew, I have been playing Dark Souls 3 on the PC.
Okay, can I admit to you something that's going to make you cry?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played any Dark Souls games.
I knew that. I was pretty sure that I was going to be right in saying that you had never played one of those.
I guess I should have let you guess how many I'd played.
Yeah, I would have gotten it right, though. I would have said 0.
You know what? In the future, you'll be able to guess basically that for any game you ask me if I played.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Although, I bet, I'm going to go ahead and be willing to bet that if you went to your Steam library, you own at least one, if not more than one, Dark Souls game.
Well, should I boot this up and answer this question?
I don't know. I mean, you don't need a fact check on this podcast if you don't want, but, I'm not going to tell you not to.
I mean, I'm not going to fact check you on the internet, or anything like that, but, opening my Steam library seems like a reasonable...
Okay, that's the level of fact-checking we can get up to.
I should probably be able to fact-check myself.
I don't know. It's okay to just state opinions without basis and claims or facts. I feel like there's a number of people in this country at this moment who do that.
Oh, man, are we going to get into politics on this show?
No, we are not.
Okay.
I don't want to do it.
You're probably in the right vein not to.
Yeah. It just feels like we shouldn't. No one wants to hear our opinions anyway.
It don't matter. We already went over that.
That's right.
Okay, well, Dark Souls 7?
3. That's the one I have been playing. So let me tell you about Dark Souls 3 a little bit. Dark Souls 3 is a game that is nostalgic for previous entries in the Dark Souls series, which sounds kind of weird to say. It has a lot of callbacks to previous series entries and even games that weren't really a part of the Dark Souls franchise. If people don't know, the Dark Souls series is made by FromSoft, a company from Japan. It started out as... Sorry,
but you could just say, since you don't know, because I don't know. It doesn't even matter about other people. I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
Okay. Well, Andrew... Since you didn't know, I'm going to go ahead and run this down for you.
And all the other people that don't know.
It is it's a Japanese game, right? And
is it? I thought it was an American game. See, I'm learning stuff already.
No, yeah. FromSoft is a Japanese company. It started out on
but it's
the
not a
PlayStation
JRPG.
Series. Well, there are some people who would say that because it was made in Japan and the game has RPG elements in it, that it could be an RPG. I don't know that I subscribe to calling Dark Souls a JRPG because there's connotations there about what kind of anime characters and turn-based battles and a whole bunch of stuff that is kind of irrelevant, but it is kind of an RPG game. I would say it's more like an action RPG, but it is from Japan, and so then does that make it a Japanese RPG? I don't know. I think that's a debate that someone could have. I don't care to have it, but someone could have that debate.
I don't know. I would say JRPGs are very defined. In terms of... Right? I mean, JRPGs existed forever, and And they have all the same exact elements. So does it...
Sure, so like in the vein of something like Final Fantasy, right?
Sure, or like
or
a
those,
Xenoblade or...
Sure, those kinds of games. This is not those kind of games.
Okay. So is it like a third person Assassin's Creed type game?
Sure, I think it's closer to that than it would be a JR. I mean, the game is real time. There's no pausing. There's no turns. You have an inventory system. You have statistics that you level up, and you increase your points in your strength or your dexterity or whatever. But it's not a. You don't earn experience by killing enemies. You earn souls, and souls are both experience and money. And when you die, you drop all of them.
What?
Yeah.
Like your wallet falls out of your pocket?
Yes, all the souls you were carrying fall to where you died, and you can run back there and pick them up.
Is there a way to contain your souls better, i.e. having some sort of traveler's wallet that is strapped to your body that cannot be pickpocketed?
A la Zelda. No, there isn't. When you can spend the souls to upgrade your statistics or to buy items or those sorts of things, but you cannot actually keep them, beyond that. Anytime you die, whatever souls you're carrying at that point drop on the ground.
Wow.
Yep. So you may find items that are like, hey, this item is a soul of a forgotten warrior or something, and it hangs out in your inventory until you use it, and then it gives you, 2,000 souls. But yeah, it's sort of a way to carry those souls around. But those are, there's only a limited number of those, however many you can find in the world or off dead guys.
Now all the games are like this?
Pretty much, yeah.
I've heard something about Dark Souls games.
Okay.
They are really, really hard.
So yeah, I think that calling them hard is a bit of a misnomer. I don't know. The games can be punishing if you don't know what you're doing. I think that the themes of the game are about death and rebirth and learning from your mistakes. So the game flashes this big banner up in front of you every time you die, right? It says, "You died" in big red letters as the screen goes black and your guy falls over, right?
Are they trolling you?
No. The goal is that you died, right? You should know why you died. The enemies have predictable move sets. They do the same thing, in theory, to the same response every time.
Oh.
So if you walk up there and you hit him with a sword, probably he's going to attack at you, one of like 3 attack animations that they have. And so you should learn, okay, well, this time when I attack that guy, I'm going to try rolling out of the way of this attack rather than standing next to him and trying to get a second attack in.
Oh, so it's like the old style side-scroller games where you know what the bosses are going to do, pretty much.
Yeah, except this is 3D and, camera controls and whatnot. But it's all swords and shields and sorceries and, magic and that kind of stuff.
But move sets, so you can kind of memorize what things do.
Yeah, so like if I equip a sword, right, and the controller layout here so I play this with a controller on a PC. There are keyboard and mouse controls. I have never used them though, so I have literally nothing about that. But so like the controller moveset here, if you use the 2 shoulder buttons, right? I'm using like a standard Xbox 360 controller. You have your right bumper and your right trigger, and your left bumper and your left trigger. The items used in your left and right hands will have 2 effects, right? So your left hand did item, the bumper would be the light attack of that item, and the trigger would be the heavy attack of that item. If the item is like a shield, the right bumper would be blocking, and the left bumper or the left trigger would be like parrying or something.
Okay.
And so then, your sword has a light attack and a heavy attack, and each sword will look a little different and have a slightly different moveset. One sword might be a thrusting attack, one might be a sweeping kind of thing. A spear would poke, or, a big, huge 2-handed sword would come crashing down on their head. And you kind of switch your weapons around to meet the needs of the enemies and the area that you're in.
Gotcha. So it's like RPG kind of like in that vein. You have to know where you're at and what's better.
Totally. There's like a lot of RPG elements in the game for sure. And your character has, a list of statistics like strength and dexterity and some other weird ones like endurance, which governs your stamina, and stuff like attunement, so you can cast more spells. and every time you perform an action, say I attack with my light attack of my sword, it takes a chunk out of your stamina bar. So your stamina bar is like, you have your health bar, you have your magic bar in this game. Not all the Dark Souls games had magic bars. And then you have your stamina bar, so you attack, it uses a part of your stamina, and then it will refill slowly over time. You kind of have to, so it becomes the push-pull of like, okay, I could get in an attack here and then roll out of the way, but that uses probably most of my bar, and then I won't be able to do anything for a sec, and then the monster will come at me, and I have to know, when can I dodge, when can I attack, that kind of...
Did you ever play the game Onimusha?
No, I don't think that I did.
It sounds similar to that, but that was a long time ago.
Tell me about that one.
You equipped swords and you sucked in souls and used them to upgrade, and you had stamina bar and all that sort of stuff that you've been describing, but it was less, you had just like, you had like 4 things you could upgrade. You could upgrade your attack or your health or your special attack. And you can kind of go through the game. I don't know that there were set moves or anything like that for enemies, and it wasn't a very hard game, but, you went through the game as a samurai or something, fighting the undead, and yeah, it was a simplistic PS2 game? PS2, I think, yeah.
Sounds like it was, at least the kind of a precursor, at least, to
Might
the
have
series.
been. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay, well, I want to know more about 3, but I have an answer to your question.
Okay, yes, I would love to know.
Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition.
That's right. That is the Dark Souls 1 version that's on the PC.
That is what I own of the Dark Souls series currently.
Okay. Well,
And I have not played it.
I knew that. I would encourage you to maybe try and find time to play it.
Okay.
Although it could be the kind of game where it might cause a lot of swearing or, general frustrating type outbursts. The thing I love about the game is that as you progress through, right, the save points in the game, although they're not really... The game is always saving. It's always happening. You can't really save. You can't really pause either. You can kind of just stand somewhere and hope you're not attacked.
Wow.
It's a really interesting system, but as you progress, you go to these bonfires, and that's sort of your like stop. Okay, like this is my rest. You get to refill this thing called the Estus Flask, which is like your healing potion that you can drink. And throughout the game, you could upgrade it to be able to use it more times or have it heal for more total health or whatever. These bonfires, right? Every time the risk of reward of the bonfire is that when you rest there, all the enemies you have killed will respawn. Everywhere.
Oh no!
Yeah, except bosses. Bosses will not be respawning, and there's some like weird stuff related to respawning in the second game, but we're not going to talk about that. It's not really important. But the idea is, so you can rest, refill your health gaining items, but now you have to fight all these enemies again. So the push and pull is like, you're like, okay, I've gotten so far, I'm almost out of healing items. Oh my god, I'm like so close to death. And then you see this bonfire and you're like, yes, I did it. I'm the greatest player alive. You sit down, you refill that thing, you're like, all right, I can move forward. And some guy jumps out of the side and ambushes you and knocks you off a cliff and you die.
But you saved at the bonfire, so... That's
right. And so so then when you die, you respawn at the bonfire, the last bonfire you rested at. That could have been 5 minutes ago, 5 seconds ago, or 5 hours ago, depending on how long you went between finding another bonfire.
And this is true in all 3 games.
Yes. So when you die, you return to the last bonfire. Pretty much without exception.
Yikes. So it's not like Final Fantasy where you're just like, I just need to find a save point right now, and then I'll deal with Bahamut. No.
But you can quit anywhere, right? You can just stop, close the game, assuming there's not like a guy in the middle of attacking you. And when you turn the game back on, your character will be right there.
Interesting.
With the same health and whatever you had before, because it saves all the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the great thing is they sort of craft the areas in such a way that usually you can make some kind of progress through an area. You start at, the bonfire for that place. You move forward. It's all sort of open world-y like. At least they're not, they're supposed to be these big, sprawling, interconnected worlds or whatever. And you'll make progress through an area, a castle. You'll go up some stairs and around a corner and up a turret and across the wall. And then you're like looking for where the next area is, and you'll hit a lever that will open a gate in the front of the castle. So that when you die and you respawn at that bonfire, well, now you don't have to go up the turret and around and over the wall. You can just go through the castle door at the front back to where you were.
Kind of like a Zelda dungeon type thing.
Yeah, it's like little shortcuts, They like build these levels in such a way that you can get through immediately or not immediately, at least save a lot of distance that you went. And finding those is also the greatest thing. So you'll be like, in a similar location where you're like, okay, I'm really close to dying here. I've gone so far. And you find this lever on the wall, you pull it, and then all of a sudden, like, the door opens up and you're like, oh, that was the area I was in like 5 minutes ago, or 5 hours ago. And now I've found this quick route from there to the bonfire I started at. Or you'll find another bonfire somewhere farther ahead.
Nice. So Dark Souls 3 you said was kind of different than the other two games?
Yeah, so it is sort of, if the game feels like a greatest hits, and I'm going to start dropping some terms here. I don't know a better way to explain it. Just, maybe, Andrew, you're not going to know necessarily what I mean, but trust me, this stuff is cool. And fans of the series, I think, are really going to like Dark Souls 3. It takes the elements that I liked from the first game and some of the elements that I liked from the second game and sort of puts them together and kind of rolls it all into a big, really well put together package. The other thing this game does is it doesn't really have a story, I guess. It does have a story, but the storytelling is very obtuse. It's not very direct with you. Like, you get an intro movie with some narration, and then that's kind of it, right? They don't really, like, to figure out what's going on in the world and where you're supposed to go, maybe this NPC will tell you, hey, you need to go find these bells and ring them, like in the first game. Or this case, it'll say, oh, you need to go find these guys and kill them.
That's kind of a Japanese game thing, right, though? I mean, like, not having fantastic direction giving from the get-go. You kind of have to sort of mill about the game until you figure something out.
Yeah, I think it's the differences in previous sort of Japanese kind of role-playing games. The lack of direction is unintentional. They're very purposefully not telling you the story here.
Oh.
And if you read sort of the descriptions on items and like the talk to every NPC all the time, you'll kind of pick up bits and pieces of the lore and the story as you go along in the game. Like, mainly the item descriptions is how you get most of the total, like, lore behind all the characters and the bosses and the enemies in the world.
Nice.
And so it leads to this really cool feeling of you'll pick up this ring and you'll be like, oh, wow, this ring is the ring from this character, his son. And oh, wow, it really tells me something really awesome about who, that relationship and how it is. And when you fight that guy later, you'll finally get to see what the original guy looked like or something. It's some really cool stuff, so sort of Dark Souls 3 sort of folds that lore from those first two games together. And the series has always sort of been, each entry was pretty separate. They didn't really touch back on things from previous entries except in really obtuse, kind of unclear, very vague ways, maybe not really like intentional. Is this just a callback, or is this actually intentionally related in the like series lore or whatever? And this one definitely enshrines a lot of that stuff as, hey, this actually was, real lore that happened in this place. Makes the game really a greatest hits kind of feeling to the whole area.
So this ain't no Sid Meier's you can play 5 without playing 1 situation.
I think you could pick up any of them. And the quote that I've heard people out there say is that everyone's favorite Dark Souls is their first one. And I don't think it matters which one your first one is, but that would probably be your favorite one. But at least from my perspective, I'm enjoying this one a lot more because I have played the previous ones.
So which is your favorite Dark Souls?
If I was telling someone who had never played Dark Souls, I would tell them to go play Dark Souls 1.
Well, thank you for telling me that.
Yes. So, Andrew, you should go play Dark Souls 1. There's a really great mod for it that fixes the frame rate and makes it look really pretty. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that will make that stuff work better for you.
Dark Souls series overall, worth your time?
I think, it's the nice part about it is you can play it in little chunks, right? You can play an hour, you get somewhere, find an item, learn a new spell, upgrade your statistics by 1, go back to the bonfire, rest. You've gained a little bit of progress. You can stop for the night. It's not like you're going to lose everything, right?
How long are these games?
Well, they could be long. Depending on what do you want to do everything or just want to get to the last boss and start over?
Okay.
The games are all of them are built in such a way that when you beat the game, you move on to New Game Plus immediately and you start over at the beginning. But you keep all your items and levels and stuff and everything scales up a little bit. So in theory, you could keep playing forever. I don't know why anyone would ever do that.
Who's got time?
Yeah, no one has time for that. Or maybe you do. I don't know. But I don't have time for that. So usually I try and do them, all the way through, maybe once or twice if I'm really feeling it or something.
Sure.
I think a first playthrough, if you're playing 40 hours through a first playthrough, you're probably doing pretty good.
40 hours? All right. So your takeaway is worth it, yes.
I think so, yeah. I'm liking it.
The inevitable follow-up question to that, because we have something to do, how much do you have left in Dark Souls 3?
That is a great question. I actually don't know. I have been attempting to avoid tons of spoilers. I usually don't care that much about being spoiled about things. So I know there's a certain number of bosses I have left probably. The game sort of tells you there's these certain number of specific dudes you will need to kill at some point, and I have killed a good number of those guys already. I have one more big one left, I think. So I'm probably approaching the end game, but I'm not sure exactly how far I have left. A lot of it is going to depend on how quickly I can, pick up the various movesets from the bosses and not get murdered over and over. You get murdered over and over a lot. That happens a lot.
You have died.
Yeah. You died happens.
Oh, it's just you died.
Yeah, it just says you died.
Not you've died, you died?
No, it's just you died, yeah.
I like that. It's very simple.
Yeah.
You have died is too long.
I think it's funny that the text is moddable in the first Dark Souls game, so people have made it display all kinds of silly things. It's oh, thanks Obama, and all kinds of other very silly,
memes.
Memes, yes, dank memes, one might say.
Dark memes.
Dank.
Well, it's dark because it's.
Dark memes. Dark memes. Yeah, dark memes. Andrew, this is the other thing. This game has mimics,
from fantasy novels. Mimics.
Yeah, treasure chests that turn into horrible monsters and eat you.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So you think you're going to pick up this it's a treasure chest. Oh, sweet. It's going to be a sweet piece of gear or some armor, maybe a spell or something. Awesome. I'm going to open up this chest. Nope, it turns into a horrible monster and it eats you.
I don't know that I'm going to make it past the first one. That sounds horrific to me and very frustrating.
But a lot of it is fair.
That's going to haunt my nightmares.
The mimics are pretty nightmarish, I'm not going to lie. But the thing is, right, the game rewards careful and patient play. I know maybe that might not be the strongest suit for actually either of us, but...
Good point.
Yeah. And so, when the first time I met a mimic, right, in this game, in any of these games, it murdered me because I didn't know. I'm oh, sweet, treasure chest. Open it up. The mimic turns into a giant mouth and it eats you, right? But if I had paid more attention, the treasure chest sitting next to it that was not a mimic did not look exactly the same as the treasure chest that was.
Got you. So you have to die the first time.
Right. But then now right? And that one is going to be a mimic next time. And you come back with guns or, bow and arrows, fire arrows, and really big swords and magic. And you kill the crap out of that thing. And then it drops the sweet item and you're yeah, now I have this rad spear or whatever.
Right.
And then that game, dude, when you kill the, you don't really have guns in that game, but crossbows.
We should mod some guns into it. It'd probably be more fair.
Well, there's a PS4 version of this series called Bloodborne, made by the same company, but not available on PC. That does have guns. It takes place in Victorian England kind of era, and you have a little gun.
Okay. Probably just as unfair.
No. And the gun is not really useful for sniping or anything. It's kind of the gun takes the place of the shield in that game. There's a bunch of stuff that's different.
Gotcha. Well,
anyway, that's kind of all I have been up to.
I don't know how we're gonna do it because we got to cut into your time because something else started that we did together the first time, and it sounds like we wanted to do again.
Okay. Yeah.
Diablo Season 6.
I know, man. I know. I saw that post, and when it was going out, I want to do it again.
Yes.
I could put Dark Souls on the back burner a little bit to play some Diablo. That sounds... I'm ready to go back.
You're ready to delve back into Tristram?
Is that a marketing line?
I don't know. It sounds like something Blizzard would say. For those of you that don't know, I guess, dungeon crawler? What did you call Blizzard? Hack and slash loot grind?
I think Diablo is also a action RPG, but yeah, it's a loot game. It's a loot game.
It's a loot game. It's like a top-down World of Warcraft that you can play by yourself.
Hey man, Diablo is older than World of Warcraft. That game people should know before they would know what World of Warcraft is.
I would hope.
That's shit. If people know what World of Warcraft is and they never heard of Diablo. That's you should know what that game is. Oh, sorry. Swearing, it's a thing sometimes. I'm sorry, y'all.
It's all good. Diablo seasons are essentially, what would you call it? It's like a reset. You get a new character, fresh character, no gear, not related to any of your other characters, so you can't help it out. And you have to play it from the get-go and rank it up within a period of 3 months.
It's kind of it's a nice way to start over with the game. Because at some point you've gotten all the items you want, you've got the max level, you've gotten all the cool stuff, and then the game gets a little boring after a while.
Yeah, and for some of us that played the game right when it came out and played it for a while, you got to the point where you're kind of like, okay, well now I've done this with Wizard, I've done it with Barbarian. I guess I could keep going, but it's just the same thing with a different class, Same thing with a different class. It didn't incentivize you to want to come back to the game. But they've really added a ton of stuff, and the seasons, oh man, last season was fun.
We had a pretty great time last season. I played a demon hunter, right?
Right, but I think part of it was definitely us both playing it objectively, not without the other person. We didn't, until we got to the point that it didn't matter if either of us was on. We didn't play without the other person or out-level them or whatever. Yeah,
we tried to do the entire experience together, which we hadn't done in a pretty long time. That was really, really fun.
Yeah. So, but both of us, I think, are game to do Season 6.
Yeah, I would love to. It has already started, correct?
I believe
they opened the gates?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that's probably my target for the next week or so, is to get some time back in Diablo and see how Season 6 feels, see how it all shakes out, and whether the feeling of... Because, Seasons 1 through 4 did not feel that fun. It was literally getting back on and grinding again. Whereas with Season 5, you came on because you noticed they added all those new areas. They just decided to hand out the legendary set.
That was the coolest thing, I thought. They're like, hey man, look, if you come back through the course of your... what did they call that thing, Andrew?
Season Journey.
The Season Journey, that's right. Hey, if you complete these, objectives, yeah, we're going to give you the pieces of this armor set for your class, right? The one of the cool ones. Because people out there maybe remember, and I'm sure, Andrew, you will remember Diablo 2, where oh man, if I could get the full set for this one, sorcerer set, I could be teleporting around and casting all these ice balls everywhere. It would be so awesome all the time. But, the drop rate in that game is such that, there's no guarantee for what kind of items are going to drop. There's no guarantee you're going to get even one piece of legendary gear at all. And now, finally you're finding, you find this set item. You're like, yes, it's going to be the one. No, it's a piece for like a druid and you can't use it at all. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, and they've really changed how that works even within Diablo 3. Just because they said, hey, you know what? It really stinks when you don't get legendary items. So here's what we're going to do instead. You're going to get a ton of legendary items because that's the fun part of the game. The thing about it will be, for those of you that really, really want to min-max the game, each item's roles are going to expand a ton, and they're going to add an ancient version so you can always chase something even better. But it's not unfun because you're not going to get on and be like, well, my buddy plays 12 hours a week, and I get an hour or two that I can spend in the game, and he's out-leveled me by X amount, and he can't trade me items because Diablo 3 doesn't allow you to do that anymore, unless you're both on at the same time, playing the same game together. You can't just like, oh, hey, I farmed this entire wizard set for you. Here, have it. You can't do that, So you'd be stuck with, okay, well, I've got one piece of this wizard set. Even in Diablo 3, they did that. And now, so much more fun to step into the game and know that even if it's not the best, Witch Doctor set, I'm still gonna get a full set.
And then that enables such a different style of play, right? Like that Witch Doctor set gives you some crazy bonus that changes and makes you want to use your completely different set of skills you were using while you were leveling up. And so then you're like, oh, now I'm going to be a cool pet class, or I'm going to have this huge dude and all these other little dudes that follow me around all the time, and be, really crazy where maybe you didn't play that way while you were leveling up.
Well, and two other things that opened up for me personally in this game was I had never gone above Torment 1 by myself. The game has certain difficulty levels, normal, hard, extra hard, master, and then there's an infinite level in theory, but they only go up to a certain number so far of exponential gains they can make to the monsters, and they call that torment, and it just makes the game harder and harder and harder, which means you have to have better and better gear. Well, you really have to have legendary gear to get into torment. And torment 4, 5, 6, etc., you got to have really good legendary gear.
Right.
Set items, etc. So it was kind of like a thing that you could never do until you got these items, and now it enables more people like myself who don't play hardcore. Hardcore meaning all the time, not hardcore the mode, which also exists in that game.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that anyway, because what happens if your internet goes out and then your character dies and now you're screwed all that time? It's gone.
You probably saw my Twitter rant about their game disconnecting from their end and deleting my only hardcore character I've ever played after 20 hours of playing.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to mention it if you didn't.
Oh man, I cannot believe they can't tell which side it disconnects from and at least restore your character if their server screws up. It makes me not play that mode. It's not stable.
Yeah, and even I feel like I have a pretty good internet connection. It doesn't go out very often, but I would just be too worried. Or like what happens if my roommate decides that today is the day he needs to stream Game of Thrones or something, and I don't have control over what he's doing, and so then boom, it's all of a sudden I get a huge lag spike and the giant monster hits me for all my health, and that's the game. Yeah, can't do that. But luckily, you don't have to play that way.
Exactly, I agree. And I won't.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing it opened up was you and I were able to play Torment together, and then in Greater Rifts, which is a sub mode of the game where you take your character into literally just a killing field where you just eliminate monsters for gear.
Yeah, it's a randomized little zone that they build just for killing. It's like, hey, the only thing that happens here, kill stuff as fast as possible. That's all you want.
Yep. It enabled us to kind of egg each other on into something I've never really done in that before, which was anytime I did a Greater Rift, I went in only when I had a friend who was really well geared and high, and they were like, yeah, come on into my rift and stand in the back and I'll kill stuff for you and you can take loot. And this time it was like, well, I'm going to try, Greater Rift 40. Well, I'm going to try Greater Rift 41,
Yeah.
And we kind of, the one-upmanship, and you really got engaged with the game a lot more. So I'm happy at least to give it one more go and see. I know they changed the sets they're giving out. They changed one or two things. They added some cosmetic stuff, but it's very similar to Season 5, so I'm interested to see if we go through it again as quickly and as, intensely as we did last time, if we have this same amount of fun.
Yeah, Season 5 really felt like a really different game to me.
New game, yeah.
Yeah, it felt like a new experience. And I wonder, will Season 6 feel like that, or if it'll just feel like another Season 5. But, this time a different class, right? No reason to play the same class last time. Might as well try a different one. If we're going to do that, I probably should, reinstall that game or something.
You have a small SSD, that's the problem.
Yeah, my SSD is small. It's really...
Didn't you just rebuild your computer?
I didn't change the hard drives, man. I wanted to save the stuff that was on them.
You can't migrate the hard drives easily?
It probably is possible, but I didn't do it at the time.
Seems like a missed opportunity.
Yeah. I probably could have upgraded to Windows 10 too while I was doing that, but I didn't do that either. So
I am not upset at Windows 10. It follows the every other rule. Works just fine.
I think the thing that worries me is that in 3 years, 5 years, whenever I choose to upgrade a new computer, my license for Windows 10 will not follow me, and then I will have to buy a copy.
Oh, well.
Your free upgrade license is stuck to whatever motherboard or whatever you chose, and now it will not allow you to upgrade when you change that out.
True. I think in 3 or 4 years they'll be following the Apple model and just giving away Windows for free all the time.
Yeah, I definitely could see a world where that happens. It would be nice.
I think that will happen.
I will probably upgrade before the end of the free upgrade period in July or something.
I bet you there will be either a free one or, the whole world's going to change in terms of that sort of stuff because, Intel doesn't want to sell you chips without a motherboard. So at that point, they'll probably come prepackaged with, here's your Windows license anyway because you can't update half your parts in your computer. JJ and I both build our own computers, people, from scratch.
You should build your own computer too, I think. Anyone should. It is not that hard.
I agree with that statement. And it's a fun time. And you can crack open a beer and
That's right.
Listen to music or call your buddy and say, come up from San Diego, I'm building a computer. We'll hang and drink beers and build a computer and then wonder why the heck it doesn't turn on.
Yeah, troubleshooting.
Sure.
Good life skill.
Have you had... My last 3 builds that I've heard about, it's always gone with, well, that didn't turn on.
The first time?
Yeah.
This most recent one that I did, I had I will say the previous computer I had a catastrophic failure. I was cleaning the case, which is probably something I should have done more frequently. It just decided that it didn't want to boot anymore. And I turned on and you hear that clicking noise, not the hard drive clicking noise that everyone knows.
Is this the computer previous to one that you just blew up by overclocking it?
No, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
You were trying to make an excuse and say you didn't blow it up by overclocking it.
Well, I mean, look, the overclocking is not what did it, although it contributed, definitely. I think I think opening the case and, I played with fire. I tried to move stuff around. I tried to, get better airflow or whatever, and I shouldn't have done that. Should have just let it be. Covered in dust, I guess.
So let's do a quick rundown, and we can do a longer podcast on this in the future if people want. But quick rundown of rules on building a computer. 1, take your time. 2,
yeah, don't go fast. You don't need to go fast.
2, know that it probably won't work the first time.
Yeah, and that's fine.
3, enjoy it. AKA hang with friends, drink a beer, whatever you want to do. Enjoy it.
Yeah, take it easy.
4,
plan to spend all night.
Sure. 4, plan to spend all night. 5, and final and most important rule, if it's working, don't do anything else. Ever. If it's all functional, leave it in its case. Maybe hit it with some compressed air.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, blow the dust out every so often. That's really the key. You should do that.
But don't unplug things. Don't move things around. Don't think you can install some sort of new driver or BIOS. Just leave it alone.
I mean, you want to install, like, video card drivers and that kind of stuff.
Oh, no, I just mean, like, experimental stuff.
Yeah. Know that if you are going to mess with hardware, there could be growing pains.
I'm just saying, like, obviously if NVIDIA, AMD, Intel says install this thing because you need to fix your... Like last week I fixed my monitor problems.
Yeah, you were having a weird sound thing, right?
No, so like my problem was I bought a XB270HU Predator monitor from Acer.
Okay, that's like a bunch of letters and numbers.
I splurged on a G-Sync monitor.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, G-Sync monitor with DisplayPort and everything else fun like that.
Cool.
And then I threw a GTX 970 in my computer.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic.
It's the same card I'm running.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great card. The games run perfectly. It eats up anything that I put in there.
Yeah.
But when I booted my computer, there was no signal. So I would have to like boot cycle it 3 or 4 times in order for the monitor to detect with the computer. The DisplayPort handshake was not working correctly. And it seemed like it had been an issue for a year or so. And finally, I've been checking weekly, basically, and they finally posted a driver that says, fixes some DisplayPort issues.
And that was your issue?
That was it. Boom, done. No problem since.
Nice. And it just boots now every time?
Boots every time.
Nice.
I get worried every time that it doesn't boot quickly, but it boots every time.
I will say, this most recent build that I did was one of the smoothest that I have done. I tweeted out, actually, I think, a picture of the inside of my case because it was the most clean I'd ever made one. And that felt really good, like, no snaggly cords or whatever. There's like one cord that I really don't like the location of, but there's really nothing for it based on how the thing is oriented inside the bay.
Sure. There's always that one cord that has literally no more millimeters of length to it.
Yeah. But besides that one, like the rest of it is really, really nice. I got a new case because I had grown to hate a couple things about my old one. And I'll go ahead and plug it. It's the Phantex, Phantekes, Enthu Pro. ENTHOO, like, I don't know, enthusiast or something. But that is it's like about $100. It's a really, really good case. And it has, like thumb screws. You can take both sides off. There's all kinds of zip ties and extra screws and little cable doohickeys and Velcro things to like help route cables around. Holes to get stuff onto the backside so you don't have to look at it. It's a really great thing. I'm just pleased as punch with this thing. Could not be happier.
I think that based on both of our proclivities, at some point, either when I need to do a rebuild or when we're bored or something, we should definitely do a long to chat about building computers.
Yeah, man, we could do a whole podcast just on like, hey, how to build a PC. That would be fun.
Maybe somebody can tell us if that would be boring or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that we'd want to record it. That seems like that would be really boring. Just a bunch of like, oh, that didn't go well. Or like, okay, yeah, now we plug in the RAM.
Oh, no, I don't know that I would record building it. I just mean talking about it.
Yeah. I don't know. If people want to hear that, let us know.
Well, I guess that's a good intro to our outro.
Yeah. Andrew, how can people let us know?
Well, we're on the social media, JJ.
Yes, we are.
At We Were Gamers. All those words put together in basically every location you can imagine. There's a website. There's a Twitter. There's an Instagram. I have no idea if we'll ever even use that.
I don't know. We could post pictures of that computer.
Sure. Yeah, we should probably use that. You should
Sure.
post pictures of your computer.
Yeah, I got
Or-
a picture of it. I could put that on the Instagram.
Or your face.
The
after
IG,
you
as they
die
call
in
it.
Dark Souls.
No one wants to see that.
And
Contorted
we also have an
rage.
email address. We have an email address at podcast@weweregamers.com.
Yeah, drop us an email. Tell us what you like, what you want to hear us talk about,
What horrible things we did to you in our very first episode.
how awful my microphone is, whatever other things you know that we need to do.
I guess we should also probably say that who knows where this will go, but, you know, we'll chat about computer games and PC games and other video system games. I don't own a PS4, but maybe we could talk about console games at some point. I like my 3DS a lot.
Word, man.
But who knows, you know? There's news stories, and, you know, we both like to go out and drink the craft beers and all sorts of fun stuff that I'm sure most of the time this show will just be us catching up, and I hope people want to listen to it.
Yeah. We talked a lot about games this episode.
Mostly because I was nervous as heck.
I don't know that will always be true. You know, maybe you'll hear about the random travel stories that I get up to, or Andrew's latest shoot, or whatever the other cool stuff we end up doing.
Should be fantastic. I think it's really important to also thank Marley for our awesome intro music. And
thank you, Marley.
I'm a bad host, and I don't have a thing, but I will get a thing for Marley, so you guys can go check out Marley somewhere on the internets.
Shout outs to Marley. Great job on that fat beat, dude.
And we should probably thank everyone else that we've bothered about the podcast while we were thinking about doing it. I found on my phone last week, JJ, a note from December 2014 that says podcast with JJ next year.
Okay.
So that was a little over a year and change late.
That's premature, but yeah, the idea, the core was there.
And I know we've bugged a lot of people about it. I'd like to thank Katie a lot for especially her help on the logo. But
yes,
we're doing it, man. So
we're out
anybody
here.
that we bugged about it, here it is, episode 1.
Mm-hmm.